Hello, everyone. I'm Professor Geek. Welcome back to the channel, and welcome to what will be another book study. I'd scheduled it for 9:45 here, so I'm coming in a few minutes early, just to chat about things. Also, once people see that the study's live, they'll get the notifications to come on in. We didn't do a early scheduling of this because YouTube's been having a lot of trouble today. I couldn't log into my account, so that was fixed within the last hour. I think honestly is when I discovered it was actually fixed. So just decided we could do this book study stream. So I'll bring Big Al in a moment, and we will do this. But and then I'll welcome the chat and everything, and we'll go from there. But briefly, I just wanted to have a moment or two to relay a couple of thoughts, and I don't really have this processed and all in order and ready to say, and outlined and whatnot. If I waited to have time for that, then I would never say it. So it's just something that Sound Engraver and I have been talking about recently, and she can remind me in the chat if I forget a couple of the points we talked about. But Sound Engraver is not somebody who watches a lot of movies, and she's not, just she's never been part of her life. So I've been showing her some staples and whatnot, and one of those staples is going through the MCU, and we're going to stop at I'm going to stop it with her at Infinity War because that was the last decent MCU. Although I think Ant-Man and Wasp that came afterwards, and that was still quite good. But continuity wise, not interested in anything the MCU has done past the point of Infinity War. Uh, as far as I'm concerned, Thor won the battle, and there we go. But went for the head instead of the heart, as he said, or whatever. But in that journey, we just finished up season 4 of Agents of Shield because I've talked about how I'm a huge fan of that show. Agents of Shield, so well written, so well done. Now I haven't seen the last 2 seasons, so I just want to admit that in case the writing just totally plummets in the last 2 seasons or something gets really crazy or stupid or whatever. But season 4, I've seen through season 5, and season 4 is I told Sound Engraver before we watched it, it's probably my favorite season. The writing is just so on point. The pacing is so amazing. You get Ghost Rider, then you get this, the framework and the real blanking on the life model decoys, LDMs. Yeah, get all that and you going into the framework and in part of Hydra and so forth. Really amazing stuff. Really well done. But as I was pointing out to Sound Engraver, they wrote and produced this season during the Trump years. 4 years of Trump, absolute Trump derangement syndrome from every single person in Hollywood. And I'm going to be flat out honest and just call it like it is because, my channel is not about, it's not a political commentary channel, but I do comment on storytelling, and only a flat out idiot would say that Hollywood's not controlled by people of a very strong leftist ideology, right? And that includes people who are actually totally full on ideologues, or just people who just normal people but happen to work. They're more often than not their own political philosophies are going to lean towards the left. Well, during the Trump era, like I said, it was very rare that you just, met somebody who was like, well, I'm not really a Trump supporter. No, it was like you either supported him in some varying degree or you hated the very essence of his soul. I mean, it was Trump derangement syndrome. It really was called that. And it was nothing really new. I mean, we had 4 years of it with Trump. We had 8 whole years of it with George W. Bush before. And Hollywood they do this every time Republicans in office. They just lose their flipping mind and they act like the world's over and all of these things. And a lot of the things that they put in season 4 of Agents of Shield, you can see in hindsight, or even when it was airing, this is so a little tongue-in-cheek digs, little reactions against Trump, because what did the left say? They're the resistance. Oh, they're the resistance. And it was like they were some underground resistance against a Nazi regime or something. I mean, that's really the way leftist tries to paint it during those 4 years. And in looking back, what did they really have to resist? I mean, a person in power who had policies and stood for values that were against theirs. Hey, fair enough. Fair enough. That's uncomfortable. I'm dealing with that now. I get it. But what was he declaring martial law? Were there re-education camps? I mean, what actually happened? He had some really tactless, mean tweets. That's about it. I mean, other than just a person in office who's fighting for policies that you're not okay with. and but the propaganda we heard from people who were like, "Oh, Trump's the devil and all these things are going to happen." You can see that the writers put that in the season 4 of Agents of Shield when they're in the mainframe or the framework, and it's pretending that Hydra is in charge in there, and they've got the news. The news is in the government or Hydra's pocket, and they do take people off to like re-education camps, and there's even a place called quarantine for children to be re-educated, and they're rewriting the history books, and they're taking out things like Martin Luther King and all this kinds of stuff. And because that was the kind of stuff, that was the propaganda or the fear tactics that everybody who was against Trump was saying during the 4 years of Trump. And what's so funny, I've got 2 points to make about this, and then I'll wrap it up and we'll start a book study. But what's so hilarious about this is that the first point is being in the uh I can't say any of the watchwords, but with the is Sonogram pointed out to me, you can call it the Dem panic instead of the pandemic, um being in that era and being in first 4 years of Biden's presidency. Take the Trump presidency and just what we've experienced so far Biden's presidency because of the things that are going on. Which one's more like that? Which one's more quarantine and enforced government enforced regulations and where have we seen the push to rewrite our history or take certain things out of history? That's from the left, right? That's from the ideologues. Take Martin Luther King's problematic. He's not woke enough, and I mean, all of the things that they were trying to sort of fear tactic and use as propaganda for the evils of the world under Trump actually comes to fruition, not to the extent that they did in Agents of Shield season 4, obviously, but actually comes to fruition under the democratically held presidential office of Biden, trying to increase government power up the wazoo just to deal with the virus and so forth. So I thought that was amusing. It's terribly amusing because you can see even in the actors' faces, and I love these actors as actors, and I love the show. And this is still my first point. You can even see, you can tell the writers, you can tell the actors are just like, yeah, take that, Trump, and talking about Bakshi News, which is just like Fox News, and you can just tell they just, yeah, made him feel really good to do that. And it's so hilarious now seeing that, the joke's on them because 4 years later, no one remembers all that fear mongering. The popular culture, like, what was that about? We had 4 little years of it. Now we've got the very real increases in power and mandates and regulations, under a Democratic presidential office. And, so it kind of comes back to bite him, which I think is hilarious. My second point, though, is I talk a lot on this channel about how good writing, art, is not propaganda. You can't have a piece of propaganda that is also art. And when you set out to write something, whether it's a when you set out to write something from an agenda, whether that agenda is like, a political charged agenda, or as I've pointed out, even a religious agenda. This is why the Christian movies or Christian music, 9 times out of 10 sucks because it's coming from an agenda, not from a desire to make good art. And when you do that, you don't have good art. Now, you might ask, well, I thought you said you loved Agents of Shield, and you just even said that season 4 is your favorite. And that's my point. And that's what I'll end on. I don't think what they did amounted to propaganda. Jed Whedon, it's Jeb Whedon, Joss Whedon's brother, and his other uh, partner or two there who are still in charge of doing Agents of Shield are incredibly skilled and artistically talented writers. They know crafting, they know good storytelling, and as much as they wanted to put all these little nuggets in there to make them feel better about the political situation, whether because they understood that you can't write propaganda, it ceases to be art, or because they're just good writing and good storytelling was so ingrained in them, they never let it slip down to the level of propaganda. In hindsight, like I said, you can see that it was in there, but you would have to know the historical context of when that was written to get any of that. Just watching, not thinking about the Trump era or whatever, just watching season 4, you would think this is so well written. Oh my god! In fact, you would even think, oh my gosh, those are references to what's going on today in Biden's America, because they didn't let their little nuggets or barbs that they put in the story. They didn't let that slip down to the level of propaganda. They still let the artistic story rule in terms of the that was the art was the rule of the storyline. So they weren't going to put anything in or alter character progressions or make people do things that they shouldn't do or alter something in the world just to get across this, political point. The story remained the rule. The story remained the priority. And they can put little barbs here or there if they want, but they never slip down past the propaganda level. And I think that's a great thing to point out, because I do talk about so often how the problem is when you do slip down underneath the propaganda level and you're no longer doing art, you're just doing propaganda. And people try to say, what are the ideologues for comics say? Oh, you're so stupid, comic books have always been pushing ideology. The X-Men, for crying out loud, they were about the civil rights movement. No, 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 no. Yes, art absolutely is a communication. And as a writer, you're naturally going to put the values, issues, and so forth that are important to you. They're going to find their way into the story, but they do so, as we always say, organically. Um, and that's what we've seen in comics throughout, of course, obviously. But if when you put such a heavy hand and try to strong arm it like comic writers are today, I mean, comics, like, who even reads comics anymore? To heck with comics, they're dead in terms of any new comics coming from the main companies or whatever. It's always laughable to me. You're like, so well, I like that title. That title's actually, oh my gosh, just quit picking flowers off the grave and just let it be. It's dead, Um, but that's what they're doing. They're strong arming it. It's nothing but propaganda. It's not it's not that. Yeah, Sonograver said they had a Trumpian figure that would have made it. If they had a Trumpian figure, that would have made it allegorical. Instead, we got Madame Hydra, who is an awesome villainess. Oh my gosh, from Ada to Madame Hydra, yeah, Ophelia, and her character had an incredible amount of depth and even room for empathy in the end. Sonograver talking about that. She suddenly becomes human and has to deal with all these emotions and so forth. So I could talk for quite a while about that. I've already gone over my little 945 moment, and I've got my Darth Sever waiting to talk about the book study here. So just wanted to get some thoughts off my mind. If I think of more to say about that, maybe I can talk more. But otherwise, I might cut that out and make it its own little video at some point. But shifting gears now to the book study, let me welcome aboard, as I said, Lord Sever. That's so fitting that your Darth Vader voice is.
Hey, what? Oh, I'm sorry, I was asleep.
You're just doing your Darth Vader breath.
I made myself comfortable, fell asleep, and what's it been? 5-6 hours?
Whatever. It's
okay.
9:54.
Yeah,
we're 9 minutes over. Yeah, we did.
That's right. Just listening to you still drone on about Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Oh my
one
God,
of these days,
a decade now.
One of these days, you will start watching that show and you will think, I was so wrong. Why didn't I listen to the professor and start watching this earlier?
Now, to full disclosure, I did watch a lot of season 4.
You did when Ghost Rider came in, yeah. But that's a really hard season to jump into because there was a lot of storylines already that they were trying to work from and stuff.
I watched it for Ghost Rider stuff because I like flaming heads.
Let me welcome people who are in the chat with us real quick before we jump in here. Of course, my dear Sound Engraver was first. She also says hi to UL after she says hi to her handsome prof. And hello, Big Al.
Hello, Sound Engraver.
Welcome to Go Team Ghost Planet. David Francisco, the Sentinel. Welcome. Daniel Heron, Comic Skater, Tom Spiegel. Welcome, Tom Spiegel. Yeah, got quite a few people here with us, so that's good. As I was saying beforehand, though, Al and I weren't sure we were going to be able to do the study at all tonight.
That was good, Daniel Heron.
I did. Yeah, I said Daniel Heron. Yeah.
Oh, you did? Oh, okay.
Yeah. Always got to include the Birdman.
He's been a streaming beast lately.
He has. Yeah. His channel is really, you can go check out Soundtracks with Birdman. He's got a lot of content on the channel, which is good. So, yeah, I don't know if you guys found it too. I guess you'd have to have a channel, but Daniel, you probably noticed it. But if you could not log in to YouTube or like go into your studio for a long part of today, maybe it was a regional thing. I don't know, but neither Al couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. So we didn't know if this was going to happen or not, but luckily we're here.
Yeah, it cleared up about 5. I don't know,
was it that early that it cleared up?
Yeah.
Not for me. You. Not for me. It wasn't until like
I thought I told you I could get on.
No, I never got that message from you.
Oh.
No, for me it was about It was about an hour and a half ago or something was the time I checked. But yeah. Anyway, for Allegiance, we've got 2 chapters tonight, which there's a lot that goes on in those chapters. In my, Al and I were thinking when we were trying to set up the chapters for tonight that this would have been, the a good delineation to do. Um, but the going through them and prepping them, I realized that, it's over kind of quickly. One of the things that doing my Bible survey course over on my Catholic Bible Geek channel has taught me is that I'm not here to be a substitute for you reading the story yourself. That said, I know a lot of people do listen to this stream just to go ahead and you know, and enjoy the story through our lens, and that's fine. But I don't want to try to strive and give you everything that you could possibly get from the
Or like the Wikipedia summary.
yeah. We're summing it up, but we're trying to look at the themes and trying to basically sell the book to you, and convince you that you should go ahead and check it out, So anyway, in doing that, even though there's a lot that goes on, especially in chapter 20, I'm not going to go through the minutia of every little detail of it. I just want to point out the cool things about it. But to catch us up, because it's been a while, right, Al? It's
Yeah.
been a while. Yeah. So catching us up where we are at this point, Leia is still on the what is the planet called again, Al? I'm blanking on that.
Shilkanwa?
Shokanwa, yeah. Leia is on that planet, and the chief administrator Distra has sold her out to the Empire. She's in hiding there because she was there to meet. There's a possibility of the governor there wanting to join the alliance and so forth. So, she's in hiding there, and Vader's on his way. Vader himself is on his way. So that's a problem. And Obi-Wan, the Force Ghost Obi-Wan, has let Luke know that Leia's in trouble. Luke is out with Han and Chewie. They were on this other mission, which ends up being interconnected to try and find out why these pirates are increasing their presence in the Shokanwa sector and so forth. They end up meeting with our 5 stormtroopers who have defected. We talked about
the hand of justice.
The judgment. The hand of judgment.
Judgment, sorry, whatever.
Yeah.
Been a while.
Yeah, it's been a while. But we talked about the theme. The book's called Allegiance, and Zahn is really weaving together the themes of Allegiance quite well. We've already, at the point that he wrote and published Allegiance, he'd already done the Thrawn trilogy, so we already know what happens with Mara eventually. But in Mara, and we'll see this tonight as well in our chapters, she's really coming to understand, even though she's still fully in on the Emperor's vision and still thinks that he's a great guy and the Empire's a good thing. She's still duped into thinking of that illusion. She is starting to realize that the other people in the Empire aren't exactly, it's not some big rosy happy family. She had to come to terms with the special secret division. What are they called?
The ISB.
ISB, yeah. Had to come to terms with them trying to kill her, even though they knew she was the Emperor's hand because they were covering up something they did and so forth. So she's learning, some things. She's still, she's still the Emperor's person, but she's still learning, where the people's allegiances aren't like hers to the Emperor necessarily. So she's coming to terms with that. The Hand of Judgment themselves being sort of forced into defection because of corrupt ISB agents, not really wanting to go against the Empire themselves, but learning that the Empire isn't really for people. So then they're trying to figure out where their allegiance is and so forth. Then you've got the Alliance, Luke and Han and Chewie outright for the Alliance. And Han, he's still in that weird place between episode 4 and 5, where he's coming to accept his, growing allegiance to the Alliance and so forth. So that's
begrudgingly part of the Alliance.
Yeah.
But the one thing you were talking about, Mara Jade, one thing I really like is that Zahn is presenting her as someone who is not inherently evil.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
She has a conscience, she has morals, she's a good person just working for bad people.
Yeah, because when we first meet her in the Thrawn trilogy, she's still a good person at the core, but she's under the influence of the
Mhm.
Emperor's oppressive resonance in her head. Kill Luke Skywalker, and she's very bitter. Is why he called her Mara, meaning bitter, and then Jade isn't jaded. So yeah, and now when we open here, chapter 19, the hand of judgment, our five stormtroopers in this really sweet, tricked out, ISB spaceship that they end up stealing. They're on their way to Shokan with themselves because they're still trying to do good, and they want to protect the people of the Empire, even if the Empire is not always doing it. So they've come into contact with Luke, Han, and Chewie at this point. In our last look at the chapters, we did find out where they realized, okay, so Han, they are the Alliance, and they had a really cool conversation. The Hand of Judgment isn't ready to go be Alliance or anything, but they're sort of understand where Han's coming from. Han was able to really kind of connect with him because he himself is sort of in between there.
Mhm.
Um, so they're on the way to Shokanwa. Han said, someone that we know, because Luke was told through the Force Ghost of Obi-Wan that Leia's in trouble, so they've got an operative there. So they're traveling with them, Millennium Falcon in tow and everything, going to Shokanwa. When they get there, they come out of
Yeah,
hyperspace. Go ahead.
yeah, they're like linked up flying, aren't they?
I
It's
think so.
kind of weird. I mean,
Yeah,
I
I think
guess
they
in
did.
space there is no drag, but man, that must not be easy to do that.
Yeah, towing in space, spaceship towing each other. Yeah. Um, they come out of hyperspace to Shokanwa, and boom, there's the Executor. Vader's ship, flagship, and only
4 years, I thought it was Executor.
Executor. You could still say that, I guess.
Yeah.
Um, Quiller's the pirate, right? Yeah, Quiller's the pirate. The pilot, not pirate, pilot. Quiller recognizes the Executor immediately, but no one else does. And Quiller's like, duh, he can't even respond, and they're responding for him and whatever. And
Well,
they get clearance because they've got an ID. It's a spy ship, so that it's got the right IDs. So they
yeah,
get clearance to land. And
because
then
for
Quiller's
those,
like, go ahead.
because for those who don't remember, the Executor is humongous.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
is a an impressive sight to
Mhm.
behold.
Yeah, it's incredibly imposing,
Mhm.
boom, just come upon that. Yeah. And Quiller says, maybe you guys don't have to, you ground pounders, you don't have to keep in touch or keep abreast of the news and what goes on and who's assigned to what ship and everything. But the Executor, that's Vader's ship. And then they're all
Mhm.
like, all right, we don't want to mess with Vader. We don't
Yeah.
want to, but they do have this mission here. And Larone, their elected leader, does say, well, here's what we're going to do. The 501st must be there because that's Vader's personal legion of troopers.
Mhm.
If a bunch of stormtroopers are going to be around there anyway, we'll just go down there in our trooper armor. We'll blend in, and Han, Chewie, and Luke, they'll either get themselves captured and interrogated, and then they'll find out about them or whatever. So what we're going to do is they're going to pretend that Luke, Han, and Chewie are at least Luke and Han are their informants. They're going to kind of
Mhm.
escort them. And Quiller's like,
Yeah,
this is crazy, right?
yeah, because I mean, they say something like, well, where was it? I was just looking at it. It was basically, oh yeah, Marcross is saying, if Vader catches you, you'll wish the ISB had found you first.
Mhm. And I like the when they're trying to figure out like what do we do with Han, Chewie, and Luke. They said especially like where would you even shoot a Wookiee to make sure he went down? It's like there's not that they would actually shoot them, but
The
the
knee.
imposing Wookiee. Yeah,
you,
exactly.
you take him at the knee.
So they do get clearance to land. They're going to land a little farther out from the palace. We do hear a little bit though. Marcross in particular, he was the one that looked at the outgoing messages that track them to Shelkanwa, and he knows that the informant, and he eventually says the informant's in the governor's palace. So Mark Ross seems to be really affected by this idea of the informant, and we're not really told why. He's just really kind of upset about it and whatnot, and he's not even really laying all the cards on the table for his fellow troopers, but they trust him and so forth. So just planting seeds, for what's to come. Then we switch to Mara Jade. Of course, remember that Mara and her pirate informant, buddy, were on their way there as well. They escaped the pirates' home planet there. The Happer's Way is the ship that has all the stolen AT-ATs, and
A-
Cauldra
A-
stole that.
ATSTs.
ATSDs, sorry, ATSDs. Yeah, Cauldra stole that, one of the pirate, go-betweens there, and Mara's chasing him. Chasing him because he's a prisoner of the Empire or a criminal of the Empire, but she's chasing him back to find out where the real corruption and treason lies, on this planet in the governor's. And she thinks it's Governor Chord himself. But she gets there and she sees the executor there as well. And this is one thing, Alan and I can talk about this a little bit. She demands to see Vader because she is going to demand that he not get in her way of bringing Governor Chord. And this is little Miss Mara J getting way too big for her britches right
Yeah, I
here.
mean, but still, she's got spunk, man.
Hmm.
She stands there.
And when I first read it, I thought, no, no, Mara shouldn't be saying those things to Vader. No, no, this shouldn't be happening. And I had a problem with the writing. After having read it a few times, I start to kind of realize, well, it's her learning. Yeah, she's got no business saying that to Darth Vader, but that's part of her learning that they're not some big happy family. Just because you are on this little mission from the Emperor doesn't mean that Vader's just going to, go, oh yeah, of course, anything I can do to help, fellow imperialist, or whatever. That's not the way it is. And I just had it marked, but then I just dropped my book. So let me
Well, there's that. Well, when they do, where you going to talk when they do meet? It's like I understand you demanded to
yeah,
save me.
exactly. That's one of the
He
things.
said without preamble. I apologize for my earlier tone, Mara said, inclining her head toward him in a gesture of humility. So I mean, it's like when she's dealing with underlings,
Mhm.
she's very forceful. She almost like she doesn't like to suffer foolishness.
Yeah.
If she
And he
wants to
says
get to the matter, she's like, okay, this is my, whatever. She has that the code that she gives, and everybody's like, oh,
recognition
okay,
code. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. But Vader is a different animal altogether.
And Vader says, there is only one person in the Empire who can demand my presence, Vader continued, his voice stiff. Apparently, he wasn't in the mood to accept apologies. That person is not you, and never will be, he added ominously. And then she tells him, then I'll make this as brief as possible. I'm here on an important mission, and I need some assurance your presence here isn't going to get in the way. Oh my gosh, I remember the first time I read that, like, what did you just say to Darth flippin' Vader? And he says
Stay
that
out of my way, man.
he said that my presence won't get in your way. Vader demanded, his voice dropping half an octave. Walk softly, Emperor's hand. So, um, she says something about, this is a matter of treason, and then he flips out and loses it and attacks her and says, no, Vader boomed, his voice slamming across the room and straight through Mara's skull. He took a long step around the end of the table toward her, his black cloak billowing. His gloved hand dropped to his lightsaber. She is the key to finding him. She is mine. So Vader thinks that Mara's there to get Princess Leia as well. She's not, and there's a little bit of a fight ensues, and it makes me uncomfortable. Like Vader should be able to take her just like that, and he doesn't. And she, pulls a trick or two, not to gain any headway on him, just to kind of survive and dodge his attack a couple of times. And then he suddenly comes to himself because in the conflict, she's saying, "Take it easy, take it easy." Governor Chord, what is he to you? And at some point, that sets into Vader, and he's like, "Oh, you're here for Governor Chord," and he's like, and he kind of calms himself. So I don't like the fact, but after reading it a couple times, I think, well, maybe he himself isn't going to outright murder the hand of his emperor. So maybe he is pulling his punches a little bit. I think the writing could have been a little clearer and should have been a little more. It should have had these little gaps filled in. After reading it a couple times, I'm a little more okay with the scene, but I think the writing should have been a little more um, expressed. That kind of subtext. What do you think? Did you feel uncomfortable about how any of that went down when you first read it?
No. I thought, I thought genuine misunderstanding. I thought she has enough training that she could maybe last 2 minutes, maybe
Which is about
against
all
Vader.
she's able to before he would
Yeah,
take. Yeah, exactly. It
she
happens.
might be able to defend a couple of blows before he breaks through.
Yeah, yeah.
Because if you remember in Empire Strikes Back, Vader's fighting Luke, and although he's not really going for the kill, Luke still holds his own mostly.
Well,
until the end. But I know she's not as trained, but I think she probably has a little more at this point training.
you touch on it there because he's not trying to kill Luke.
Right.
I think he could have taken down Luke in a heartbeat, at that point anyway, maybe, unless the Force was just really with Luke. But the thing is, he's clouded with Luke, and even though it's not until The Empire Strikes Back that we see the Emperor basically truly tell him, Anakin's son has survived. If you search your feelings in the Force and know it, you get the sense that Vader would have suspected, at least at this
Yeah.
point anyway.
And
Um,
I don't think Vader's trying to kill her. I think
that's what I
he's
came to
he's
realize.
proven a point. He's definitely getting that point
Yeah,
across
you stay
with the
away from
point of
her
a
because she's my way of
lightsaber.
getting to him. Yeah,
Right. Yeah, he's focused on this, and he would probably might have given her a nice scar, maybe, or something, maybe missing limb. I don't think he'd have killed her.
yeah. And once he finds out that she's not there to do anything that would hinder him, she says, she's asking some questions or whatever, and she said, perhaps he was there to destroy them. I need to get down there right away, Mara said. Is someone stopping you? Mara felt her lip twist. Even when Vader wasn't being homicidal, he was never pleasant to deal with. Not at all, not at all, she said. Enjoy your hunt. Nobody to hold nodding to him. She headed for the door. Emperor's hand? She turned back, finding his black faceplate turned toward her. Yes, she said. As you dispense your justice to Governor Chord, he said softly, take care not to get in my way.
Mhm.
And so that's, yep, he schooled her pretty well there, but so we understand who's there for what. Now Mara thinks it's Governor Chord, and we know that the informant is in the governor's palace. But we also know that his chief administrator Distra, at least he's one of them, and Distra doesn't have a very good opinion of Governor Chord. Thinks he's a bit of an oaf. So we're seeing things play out a little bit here. We
Mhm.
do get uh, we do get a little bit of Leia talking to the Mungra that has hired her there, and we talked about last time how when Leia saved that child across the street from the burglars, the community really did kind of come around to her. And I said before, even in the last chapters, that it really does feel like her among the Nogri, in the Thrawn trilogy. Did you get that
Mhm.
too, Al? Just the
Well, I didn't go there, no, but I do
well,
like
just
I do like serving wench Leia. I
mhm.
think it's kind of a neat concept.
But just the same concept that she can't help but to inspire people that are around her, and she's
Oh
going
yeah,
to,
she
yeah,
she she definitely has a presence, and I'm wondering if maybe it's not a little bit
of that force, yeah,
of the force, yeah,
hmm
being able to be that calming presence, that
hmm
um, getting everyone on the same page.
yeah, yeah, and chapter 19 closes out. So she's talking to the Mungra, and the Mungra says, you will have to leave at some point. She does say goodbye to Shiv Kyrie, Leia does, the Adarian that was there with her. And she's going to stay there for a little while because it's the best place to hide in plain sight. And the Mungra said, you'll leave at some point. You go with our blessing, when you need to leave and so forth. But then the chapter 19 closes out with Mara seeing suddenly a ship as she notices it's the Happer's Way.
I
Um,
I
yeah.
I want to bring up one line I really
Oh,
liked
sure.
it, and it kind of summons up Leia and how everyone feels about her.
hmm
When he goes, when Vicria shook her head in a Mungran shrug, the movement sending a soft fluid ripple through her mane. Many have come to this neighborhood over the years to hide, she said, but most have been arrogant or hateful or bitter. Few have shown us such honor and courtesy as you have.
hmm
And I think that's how she won them.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
And I think that's
Yeah,
how she wins everybody.
yeah, that's what gives her amazing skills as a diplomat
Mhm.
as well. Yeah, we see her really impressive in that manner. So Mara sees the Happer's Way, who is Cauldra, the one she's pursuing, big ship with the ATSTs in it, and she says, she sees him suddenly turn back from these his approach vector to go back to the governor's palace. And she chimes into the executor, and they say, well, he's been given clearance now. And she said, no, order him off. Make him go land away from the governor's palace, because she realizes he's just trying to get to the palace, pass off his goods, and escape. And she's there to try and capture him and trace him back to his informant there. So that's where the chapter ends, with her following him to that more distant landing vector there. Chapter 20, we get a little bit of Han and Luke with the troopers. They had to leave Chewie behind in the ISB ship. But as they're going, Luke is guiding them. Luke's using the Force to guide them towards where Leia is. And he says, all right, right up there. This is really starting to weird me out, Grave commented. How can you possibly know where the other search parties are? I was tapping into their group comm frequency for a while, and even with that, I couldn't figure out their pattern. Don't bother asking, Han said dryly. He'll just tell you it's a Jedi thing. Right. From a group of people who were supposed to have been wiped out years ago, Quiller countered. Gives me the creeps a little too.
Mhm.
But we do have, Luke will say some things here and there, and it doesn't make sense to Han, but Han realizes the kid's usually right about these things, So you see there, because when they meet, they did have that wonderful moment at the end of episode 4 where Han saves them and everything's great. But by the time, we're into Empire Strikes Back, there is just a deep brotherhood trust between the two of them. And that's some of the
Mhm.
stuff we see develop in the books and between the movies, and this is part of it.
Yeah, I mean, he likes Luke so much, he risks his own life on a tauntaun in the
On
freezing
Hoth, yeah.
cold.
Exactly.
I mean, that you
Exactly.
don't do that just for, Joe average, rebel guy.
Exactly. Exactly. So here we have our two moving parts here. So Han and Luke trying to find Leia, and Mara's there trying to go after Caldra, and yet the Hand of Judgment, our 5 troopers are there as well. So all of our moving parts are suddenly on the same planet and kind of slowly coming into contact with each other. Mara is trying to ambush Cauldron the Happer's Way, but he knows she's coming. Suddenly, out of the ship, busts this ATST. I'm just kind of summing up what happens. It's a really cool action scene, but
Mhm.
she's realizing that Cauldron's not even trying to run. He just wants to take her out.
Well, there's a big explosion first. It just kind
Yeah,
of throws her down, and then when all the dust clears, yeah, there's this ATST like about to go after her.
stomping out. I
It's like,
know.
what the heck, man?
Exactly. So so yeah, she in her fight with that, they're obviously making a lot of firepower, explosions and whatnot. That draws Mara gets on a little ship, a Z10 ship, trying to escape the ATSD, but the ATSD, Cauldron and the ATSD takes her down. She crashes. Now Larone with the troopers, they're good guys, so they see a ship go down. They're going to go over there and try to see if the survivor's okay or whatever. And when they find Mara, she gives them her recognition code and says, "I'm commandeering your troop there." Uh, so now you've got the Hand of Judgment being commandeered to serve Mara. So now we got 2 of the the Hand
There's
of Judgment does
a lot
they
of
cut
hands going on now, man.
it,
All the hands are together.
well, exactly. And there's the whole thing of saying, "Don't let your right hand know what your left hand's doing," from the Bible and so forth. But it gets used in other contexts. So we do have these 2 hands of the Empire that are both kind of doing their own thing still, but now they're working together. Now they did cut Luke and Han loose earlier. He said, "Go find your friend. We need to go check on this." So that's why we don't have Luke meeting Mara here. This would be way too early and so forth. Um, but the so now Larone and his men are placed in a precarious situation. He does eventually realize, oh my gosh, this is the actual Emperor's hand. So do what she says and try and slip away is the plan, because this could be the end for them, if they if she turns them in. It's a really cool, working with them and their expertise, and Mara's, desire to take this ATST down. In
Well,
Mara's
she
orders though, what's that?
oh, have you I was wondering if you had gotten to the part where she actually gets in her ship, the Z10.
Oh yeah, I
So
already got, because I shoot when that's what draws them
oh,
to her when she gets
right.
shot down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I didn't know if you actually
Yeah.
hit that part.
And she's giving them orders, and she says at one point, she's talking to Brightwater on the speeder. She said, "Just remember that if we don't nail the launcher, you'll have to worry about you'll have that to worry about as well." The woman reminded him, "If it gets too hot, circle around the block and rejoin us here. You're only mobile force right now, and I don't want you sacrificing yourself for nothing." Larone felt a stirring of surprise. An Imperial agent who actually cared about the troops she had commandeered? That was something new. Again, just a little bit of the difference of Mara and the other agents and whatnot, and the difference between the troopers of the Hand of Judgment here and the other troopers. So, um, this is going to play, a part in their progression here through the end of Allegiance, and where their allegiances go. We do bump back and forth to Han and Luke going into the cantina there, Tap Calf rather, and they find Leia and they get ready to leave. And the Mungrin that Al was just talking about, she's waiting by the back door, safely and travel to you, Leia Organa. She mumbled, "We will not forget you. Neither will I forget you, Vikria," Leia said, bowing her head to the other. "Someday, when the slavery of the Empire is finally over, we'll buy you a drink," Han cut in, taking Leia by the shoulder. He hustled her out. She's like, "Han, that was rude. These people helped me. You want to be standing there thanking them when Vader comes in the front door?" Han interrupted. "That'll make good reading at her interrogation. Come on, Chewie's waiting at the spaceport."
Uh,
um,
I just love his little digs at her there when he gets her royal high classness.
I know your
This
royalness,
little
yeah,
royal high classness.
because he knows what ticks her off, and he knows that only he can tick her off like that.
Hmm.
They do. They're trying to make their way back to the spaceport through the back alleys, and these two scout troopers are combing the back alleys. So they're trying to hide from them, and they're thinking, "What can we do? We can't take the. Can I shoot one, but then the other one will be clued in. They'll come for backup and so forth." And Leia says, "Give me your blaster." And Han's like, "What?" And Leia just grabs his blaster out of his hand, and she shoots this drain pipe on the side of the building. This is kind of what she learned when she was trying to shoot at the pipe to save that child across the street, at nighttime. And this drain pipe comes over and basically lands on the trooper, or knocks the troopers off. They're knocked out or dead or whatever. The speeders are still there though. And "Let's go," Leia said, thrusting the blaster back into Han's hands. "Which spaceport did you say you were at?" "Greencliff," Han said, giving the troopers and the mostly shattered drain pipe a final puzzled look. Someday would have to ask Leia how she pulled that one off. "Well, come on," she repeated impatiently, grabbing at his arm before they missed these two. "Hang on a second," Han said, eyeing the idling speeder bike. So he thinks, we'll get on the speeders. It'll be, more time to cover more ground. It's worth the risk. And Leia doesn't want to do it. Luke convinces her. And then she says, "Okay," Leia said clearly, still not convinced, "but I'm driving." "You said you'd never done it before," Han reminded her. "Have you?" she countered. "Well, not the military versions." "Then I'm driving," she concluded. "Besides, you need your blaster hand in case we run into trouble." Han made a face. Female logic. Still, she had a point. Drain pipe
But it,
shooter skills notwithstanding, he was a better shot.
yeah, but it also tends, it's like, well, these skills will come back in Return of the Jedi when they're on Endor.
Exactly.
On the speeder bikes. Oh,
Get
that's
on the speeder
okay.
bikes.
Now I know how these things work.
See the EU interconnectivity of it all. And also when he's getting on the bike, he's getting behind her on the bike. He wrapped his left arm around her waist, noting with private amusement that she squirmed a little at his touch. This might turn out better than he thought. Just love the way he needles her, when they're that chemistry between them before they get together officially. So they're on their way. The ATST is still fighting with Mara and the troops. It's kind of like, I don't want to go into the minutia of this, so I'm going to try and sum it up. And Al, you let me know if I miss anything here. Basically, I do love this. When Leia, Han, and Luke are on the speeders and they're going back to the spaceport, suddenly they see the Sawantech, the ship that Chewie's on, the one that is their ticket to getting into the Millennium Falcon, go flying over. Chewie, and they're like, Han's like, "Stupid Chewie." Chewie's so loyal that he sees his allies now, the 5 stormtroopers, in a battle, and he's flying in to save them, flying in to help them, or whatever. And Han's like, "We're gonna have to have a long talk about this," because Chewie's just so loyal. He's so willing to, go at the aid of his allies and friends, obviously. So it plot thickens a little bit because Larone has to, Mara realizes that Larone knows the pilot of that ship, and says, have him do this or that, but help us. Now remember that Mara, we don't see this interiority because we're not in her perspective towards the end of the chapter. But Mara does know they were missing stormtroopers. Mara had to figure that out for the reason why those ISB agents were trying to kill her, they're supposed to be there as her support. So she knows that this is a thing. She doesn't care. That's for other people to deal with. She's there to find this traitorous, treasonous governor. So, as they eventually take out the ATST, they realize that it was actually just on autopilot, and she's kicking herself like she should have realized that. So Caldra's taken off somewhere. She's got to go track him down, probably towards the palace. They take out the ATST, but then some other troopers show up. The executors, administration shows up, and they're demanding Larone's unit number, and he's like, "Well, we've been commandeered by, this lady here," and she gives the codes. You see the Emperor's hand. The executor's been clued in that she's there, but they still want that unit number from Larone for and he's hesitant to give it. And we see Mara standing up for him, refusing to allow him to give it. Say, he's with me. Do you got that? He's with me. That's all you need to know. So a little bit of a mystery there. Does she know who they are? Is she, what is she planning, here? So it's a little bit of a mystery there that's pretty interesting. Kind of
Yeah,
compels you to the next chapter.
even if she does know, she knows that they're capable and they're taking orders.
Hmm. Yeah, she's
So
impressed by how well they
yeah,
are, more than any other troopers unit she's worked with. Yeah.
yeah, well, because they are a true unit,
Hmm.
unlike just a random bunch of you know
That's a
guys.
good point to think about. Like, why do they work so well together? Well, on the one hand, they happen to be very skilled at their unique jobs. They
Right.
have worked together before, but I think they're bound by more than just blindly following orders. They truly, they've got a survival, in common. They have to depend on each other, and they do believe in something greater than themselves, even if their allegiances are a little kind of swirly right now. They don't know where
Yeah,
they lie.
and when you're talking about the theme of allegiance, they have an allegiance to each other,
Exactly.
which
Yeah.
a lot of troopers may not necessarily have.
Hmm.
Or even like, like a general, the stormtroopers are just the pawns, throw them in there, who cares? But
Yeah.
these are 5 guys who know each other, depend on each other, each one has their own skill, they are a unit,
Hmm.
and they're they work well together, and
Yeah. They're
they're
fingers of a hand. I mean, to
they're
complete the
yeah,
metaphor.
they're better than the sums of their parts,
Yeah.
basically. They're
Yeah.
them as a unit is better than 5 of anybody else.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah, that's a great point. And Tom Spiegel points out there that they're effective unit because they're suddenly fighting for the right cause. And
Mhm,
see, that's a good point too. Their stories point out how a lot of troopers probably joined the Empire because they thought that it was a worthy cause. They wanted to make a difference. But you can't fight for the Empire but so long before you start getting those conflicting orders and you start
mhm,
seeing how the Empire doesn't really care about its people. So then what do? You just keep blindly following orders and try to forget it, or you're forced into defecting as they were, and now they've really got a true moral thing that they're fighting for to truly help some people here. So
mhm.
yeah, both good points there, really. Um, Chewie does get out unscathed eventually, and Luke and Han are going to and Leia are going to meet up with him. So that's where chapter
Well
20 ends for us. Go ahead.
well, I like when they have to get the verbal, cue from the ship, and Han is the one that gets it because they didn't want Chewie to be all,
Yeah,
"Oh,"
yeah, yeah. Yeah, Mara tells Larone to, tell your pilot that to give him my thanks and that he can go. And Larone's like, all right, let me relay this because he's right there in front of her and the executor's troop, and he's like hoping that the Wookiee growl doesn't reverberate through his speakers in
Mhm,
his helmet, but instead Han comes back. So that tells us that Han and Leia and Luke made it to Chewie there. So yeah. Yes, it's a great setup. So now we've got these chapters left, not many, it's not long left of the book, but now we finally got all these missing moving pieces, and the book's been bouncing back and forth through the perception of Mara, Han, Luke, or Leia, and then the Hand of Judgment, and they've been sort of bound by theme, bound, they didn't know they were bound together through this common plot point, these pirates and this treasonous thing in the Empire, but now they're all together on the same planet. Now things are going to kind of move forward, especially Mara and the Hand of Judgment. Of course, we know that Mara can't see Luke and be a part of his, because that would break continuity. We know they don't meet until the Thrawn trilogy, but we are together now, and we do see things really kind of come to a head. It's to the point in terms of the arc of a story. Like, we're done with the rising action at this point. It's time for climax. Now, since it's a novel, it's not like a short story. The climax can be multi-layered. We can go through a couple of different stages of the climax, but that's where we are in terms of the story arc at this point.
mhm.
So
I do love this little exchange at the end of the chapter. I just wanna read real quick
sure.
when she tells him, we're going to the palace, Lerone felt his muscles tighten. The palace? He asked carefully. Yes, she said. Do you have a problem with that? Lerone threw a sideways look at Marcross seated beside him. Even through the armor, he could sense the other's unnatural stiffness. No, ma'am, Lerone said. My unit's at your complete disposal.
Uh-oh.
Yes, she said softly. I know.
Yeah, that I know tells you too that she probably suspects they are the missing troopers. So that means
Yeah.
like there's nowhere they can go. They're gonna be loyal to her at this point, and we don't know what she has planned for them or what she's gonna think about it. But yeah. So there's
Go
4 chapters left, but it's not a lot of pages.
Yes, I think we can finish it off.
You think we can go ahead and finish off that? Because that's in
Sure.
my book it's 284 to 324. I think we can do that.
I got
So
351 to 400.
okay, yeah.
And
So we'll just finish out the book the next time around, which won't be next week, but the week after. And that'll do Allegiance for us, and then we can move on to something else. So you just did your rewatch, Al, for 10th Commandments. So what's coming up next?
Netters Network, we're going to be watching Avatar.
Really? I thought she was doing the alphabetical.
She missed it the first time around, so she's cocked back into the A's to get Avatar done.
Gotcha. Going back in to fill in the gap. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, she missed it the first time around. So yeah, we're going to be watching Avatar this Saturday, and in the following Saturday, and then I have 3 in a row.
That's right. What's going on your channel, Al?
Well, the 23rd is The Outlaw Josie Wales, the Clint Eastwood classic Western. Love that film. And then on 30th, I'm having this really bothersome guy who's been wanting to watch this picture with this horrible actor that needs a punch in the face. I will be having fun. That's right. The Pacellis are out of town or cannot do the 30th, so they have bequeathed it to me. And the professor and I are going to be watching Mannequin,
the classic 80s. What's the word?
Comedy.
No, a take on the My Fair Lady story, but a My Fair Lady story was a take on the Greek mythology. Pygmalion. Yeah, Pygmalion. Yeah, that's right. I couldn't think of the word. Yeah. Take on the Pygmalion story, which I loved. I loved this movie growing up, the 80s. Yes, I had a childhood crush on Kim Cattrall in the film. But Sound Engraver's not going to hold that against me.
Mine, my adoration for her was from Porky's.
Oh yeah, Porky's.
That. And also, if you ever saw The Bastard.
Oh,
there was a series, I think John Jake's novels of this family and the patriotic thing. And they started doing film, and the first one they did was The Bastard with Andrew Stevens and Kim Cattrall.
Okay, I never saw that. But yeah, she was in a lot of 80s movies, like Police Academy as well. And it wasn't like I had a thing for her. It was just her in the movie Mannequin. That was the thing. So yeah. But
and
it's got Andrew McCarthy, who Al just can't stand the look of.
Yeah, I just pop him with an elbow.
But I don't know why you hate him.
It's I don't know. It's not really hate. I can't classify it as hate because I don't hate anybody. I just think he needs a punch in the face. I don't know.
All right.
He should not have gotten Molly Ringwald in Pretty in Pink.
Sound Engraver says no grudge, but don't sound too happy there.
And then he steals Ali Sheedy from the other guy in St. Elmo's Fire.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that one. Yeah.
Yeah. He's always taking other people's chicks. And I
love those. And of course, Weekend at Bernie's. He was in those movies with Silverman. Well, anyway, that's the 30th on Al's channel. Of course, Sound Engraver's back with her Monday night streams, which are awesome. I don't think she's calling them Monday Night Muse anymore, although I think she should because that's an awesome name. But yeah, come back. She just did a great one last night, and she'll be back for that.
It could be Monday Night Musings.
That's true too. But then over on my Catholic Bible Geek channel, I'm doing a weekly Bible survey stream, and then we're bouncing back and forth with the Lord of the Rings book studies. So
Mhm. And I do know tomorrow night, if the heavens don't open up and throw down tornadoes and lightning bolts at them, the soundtracks of Birdman is doing Bullet.
oh, that's right. Okay, yeah, I've never seen Bullet. What is Bullet?
Bullet is a Steve McQueen film,
Oh, okay,
classic
Steve
when he
McQueen film.
has
Okay,
the Mustang that
gotcha.
everybody wants. I
Hmm.
think it's a Mustang.
Cool. Okay, cool. If he was still in the chat here, he'd be crafting some snide comment like, "I can't believe you haven't seen that movie." so, all right. Well, that's what's coming up. Thanks for watching tonight. We'll be back in 2 weeks on this channel with more, to finish up Allegiance. So it will be good. But till next time, keep enjoying and digging deeper into the hero stories you love.
Goodbye.